Okay, so we are on a... There we go. We're on a cough, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're on 5 o'clock in the morning. We are in the beautiful, gorgeous town of Chestler Street. What's so funny about
Nothing?
that? Could have been Newcastle. Probably would have been Newcastle. Isn't Newcastle. So me and Dan actually in the flesh for the first time in...
Since Teesside Comic Con, I think.
Yeah, first time doing this since Teesside Comic Con. First time actually in the flesh since we saw Aliens, which...
Oh, yeah.
Which, you know, you didn't see. We didn't do anything about that. Heaven forbid. So we've just done a Tyneside Cinema Halloween all-nighter thing. Specifically on horror sequels that do it better.
Okay, we'll get to it.
We'll get to that. Yeah, so it was supposed to be from 10 until I think about 6 or 7 in the morning.
Something like that, yeah.
And given, as I said, this is like 5 o'clock in the morning, we didn't reach the end. We'll get to that.
Yes, we will.
Because technically, it's actually his fault.
How?
Well, I gave the option, and, well, we both took it. Anyway, so we originally booked this back in August. First time I've done an all-nighter in a cinema, like, full stop.
Yeah, same for me, actually. First, like, full-on all-time. I think like, the closest I ever got was, like... Well, I didn't even go. It was, like, tempted. Like, you know when you get, like, the sort of, like, opening screenings...
Yeah.
For a film that comes out at, like, midnight, and people go to that. I've been tempted with a couple of those in the past, but I think... Nah, because travel, like...
Well, exactly, and this is the only time I've done this was for The Last Jedi, so we're going back to 2017 on that one, because I did the midnight premiere, also at the Tyneside, conveniently enough, and got out of that at like 3:30 in the morning. I was broken, frankly. But I thought this would be quite fun, to be honest, especially because... being an Audience Limitless member, you get those screen unseen things. So it's like a mystery screening. You don't know what it's going to be until you actually rock up. I'll confess, I've never actually done that. I've always wanted to.
Oh yeah, View does that as well. Sometimes they do like mystery screen. I think most of them do it now, actually.
I think so. But this one sounded quite fun. It's just awkward because there was 4 seasons on. I only knew about the one until after I booked it, and then I saw there was 3 more. So one of them was screenings of all the Evil Dead movies. There was like
Book of the Dead or something.
Yeah, Book of the Dead, Book of the Damned or whatever. There was like Space Invaders or something, so just a couple of films on that. And then there were the 2 mystery ones. And we went for the horror sequels that do it better. So we started to theorize, I think pretty much immediately as to what they were
ever since
be.
We booked it in like I'm going to say like the back end of August, we were just constantly speculating what it was going to be. Now, I was in constant belief that Evil Dead 2 was on because I thought, much like with you, that they're going to go with like the
obvious ones.
Yeah, like the obvious ones, the ones that people really quite like.
Yeah. And because I didn't realize of the whole Book of the Dead screening thing until literally...
Today.
Yeah, today. Well, last night.
Yeah, technically.
Time works weird for us. Yeah, I also assumed it was going to be Evil Dead 2, as in one of the only Evil Dead films I can tolerate, if I'm honest. So that's fine. Wasn't that at all. I think the other one we theorized was a Friday the 13th. I'd for a while said part 2 on the assumption they'd only go for second film.
Yeah, I think at the time I said it was... I had a very strong opinion that it was going to be 2. I'm actually surprised it wasn't 2.
But then literally, as we were in Wetherspoons having tea and coffee, first of many coffees, like, not that you can really see, but Dan's got a Friday the 13th Part 6 hoodie on, so I was like, crap, people like that one.
Yeah, and when we were just having some food, I was going through, like, some lists online of what people think are the best horror sequels, and Part 6 of Friday the 13th, that's always in, like, I went through maybe, like, 4 or 5 lists, and Part 6 was always on that list. It may have, like, changed, like, a couple of positions, but it was still on the list, so I was like, okay, well, maybe Part 6 is going to be on there.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that was the closest one we actually got to being right. I mean, in reality, we were wrong on all of them. So, first one we had was Friday the 13th,
Part 4,
part
the
4,
final chapter.
because every single horror slasher thing has to have something called the final chapter, and it's not actually the final chapter. Like, it's a complete con. So that's a bit convenient because I know when we did Graveyard Chit Chats, I think about a month ago, we did do it on Friday the 13th, the original one, because I hadn't seen it. And I'd always planned on seeing the later ones at some point. I was not in a mad rush by any means.
Yeah.
That being said, this one was quite fun
Oh yeah.
for what it is. I mean, I've heard from the general consensus that the people tend to prefer the ones that are sillier than the ones that take it seriously.
Yeah, I'd say what I was really quite surprised that like when I've watched it on my own, like I've never laughed. I mean, but
Yeah, there's a
now
lot of
actually
laughter in this
seeing it
one.
in cinema, like for those who've watched it, obviously you've got Corey Feldman as
Didn't realize it was Corey.
yeah,
Yeah, I
Corey
didn't realize it
Feldman.
was Corey Feldman. That's mental.
Yeah, I mean he's like goes across like another like 3 films or something like that, something ridiculous like that.
Joy.
But no, as soon as he like shaves his hair and puts like some like stuff under his eye, he just looks like Gollum, and everybody just burst
Yeah,
out laughing.
that was.
Like he just literally had to be on screen for like seconds, and the whole cinema just lit up with laughter.
I wasn't expecting
Neither
that.
was I.
And there was even like rounds of applause as well, which
Yeah.
again I haven't heard from a film since conveniently The Last Jedi. People
You know
were
what it is?
applauding
I
in
was
that.
thinking about this when I mean that applause thing. I've never seen that in cinema, and I actually thought that was going to be with when we saw the whatever anniversary it was for Aliens.
Yeah, I was expecting that, and yet everyone was quite civilized.
Yeah, they just sort of got up and left.
Whereas these ones
But
were
with like
just,
every film that we've watched today, there's been a round of applause.
yeah, that's so
Bar
weird.
the third film, because I think everybody was just kind of nodding off, really.
I think they were still cheering in the third one.
Oh, a
Actually.
bit, yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise, but yeah, it was. This was still pretty fun. This is also the first time I've seen Friday the 13th with Jason as the antagonist. I mean, he doesn't really have an arc. He just,
It just goes on murdering.
but yeah, exactly. That's all he does. And it's fine. It's. I mean, I didn't realize that Crispin Glover was in it. Because I don't know, like the year that this was actually released. I was thinking, okay, is this before or after Back to the Future? I can't.
84,
So it's the year before.
I think. I'm not 100%
Christ almighty.
sure, in all honesty.
But he's really funny, and I really like that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of really crass humor, and there's just tons of
Ridiculousness.
teen angst and crap like that. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I want in my horror slasher, teen angst again. But yeah, overall, I thought it was pretty fun. I suppose I enjoyed it more than the first film, which so technically that's a success for Tyneside on that one. 1 for 1 so far. It's not going to end on 4 for 4.
No.
Guess that. But yeah, so number 2 though, we had no clue at all what it was going to be. There was no guessing or anything. We'll just see what happens. The only thing we had was that people had said about this particular film that it should never have been made, because the idea of doing a sequel to one of the most important horror films of all time, immediately you're like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So when the guy says it's Psycho 2, everyone started to peek up, just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's interesting. And you know what? For a film that, yeah, technically maybe shouldn't have existed, I thought it was bloody great.
I thought it was really good.
I mean, here's the thing: is this the first time you've seen that as well?
Oh, yeah.
See, I'm never sure with you because you've seen so many
No,
bloody horror
the only
films.
cycle I'd seen up to that point was just the original
And not the Gus Van Sant one.
and that atrocious remake.
Okay, so you have seen that one.
But never Psycho 2. Like I've wanted to watch like the other Psycho films, but Psycho 2's been on my watch list for ages. So when they said, "Oh yeah, we're going to put Psycho 2 on," because I was really trying to think. Like, I mean, again, they were saying, you know, this is seen as a sequel that just shouldn't have been made.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, what on earth could it be?
Exactly, because you word it like that, it sounds like it's terrible.
Yeah.
And then that completely goes against, like, the sequels do it better. Suspense. We will get to it. We've made history on that one. But no, I thought for a film that no one really asked for, I thought it was a really interesting take on doing a sequel to Psycho, but also focusing exclusively on Norman Bates.
You know what I love about Psycho though? It's like with every other sort of slasher thing, you're always rooting for the guy who's not killing everybody. But for this, you actually feel sorry for Norman.
You
And in
do.
this one, particularly with the sequel, you really do feel quite sorry for him.
Well, see, that's why I love the Bates Motel series so much because it really delves into that. This is like a precursor to that, and I thought that's a really smart move. There's some really nice homages to the original film as well, but it doesn't feel overindulgent. It doesn't feel like cheap fan service.
Oh no, I hate films, particularly with like slasher films, where they just spend like the first 5 minutes just like recapping of the events. But if you make it that memorable, but with this, I mean, it's like the first like well, that iconic shot in Psycho, obviously the shower scene.
Yeah.
But that's it. There's no massive like 10-minute recap because you don't need that.
Yeah, because I mean, otherwise, it's very much its own film, and I think that's always the best way to do a sequel. Don't try and recapture what worked before, just do a new story. And I think that works because there was always room for Norman Bates to evolve as a character, especially considering it's 20 years later,
Yeah,
which I didn't realize it took them 20 years to do a sequel, but I suppose it makes sense because, I mean, Alfred Hitchcock is such an iconic filmmaker. We will get to Hitchcock at some point. But it's like the idea of doing a sequel to a Hitchcock film, people are like, no, we're not doing that.
yeah, don't need it, don't want it.
It would be like the same as like Christopher Nolan, I suppose nowadays.
Yeah,
Beyond the Dark Knight trilogy, he's never going to do a sequel.
because I mean, obviously 'cause we read the hints, which we didn't really find out about till today.
Well, I remembered the first bit, and then scrolling down past all the text specs that are just question marks, so I don't know why it's there. It then tells you a little bit more, and I'm started thinking, why the hell didn't I know this until like early? Because then I would have been able to theorize a bit better. But again, Psycho 2, I never would have thought because I assumed all the sequels were crap, even with Anthony Perkins coming back.
Yeah.
He's
My
really
my
great in
original
this.
speculation of it, because then I was trying to think, but I mean, Psycho 2 was never up there.
No,
The
definitely
only
not.
the only ones that I literally had were Halloween 2 V1 and for some friggin' reason Alien 3. But I was like,
It's a
yeah,
sequel.
it can't be Alien 3.
Well, the problem is, especially with that one, first of all, it's not good. I mean, well, it's not. But also, you either go with the theatrical cut, which is pretty garbage, or you go with the assembly cut, which is like 2.5 hours long.
But slightly less of a dumpster fire. I mean, it's still a bit of a dumpster fire.
And I mean, yeah, it's just a slightly better looking one.
But no, when he said, "Oh, Psycho 2," like, I mean, as you say, like the cinema just lit up. Like, I
Yeah,
did
it's
not expect
mental.
that response.
No, I thought that was really nice though. I think that put my mind at ease.
Yeah,
Like if everyone's actually quite interested in hearing this, I was like, oh, okay, so it must be quite good. And yeah, I mean, of all the films we've seen tonight, this one was definitely the best one.
oh yeah, for sure.
And again, for a film that doesn't
No
really
one
need
asked
to
for.
exist, yeah, and no one asked for, it's actually able to do something interesting.
Yeah,
I can't speak for the other two.
I haven't seen them yet, but
No, well, I did plan on getting the collection that's either out now or coming out soon. It's like a 4K set of all four films.
Yeah.
I don't need
I'm
to
pretty
now.
sure it's out actually.
Okay, it's just expensive then. But yeah, as I say, of the three, I think that one was the best one. Then we got to number three after many coffees. I think eventually we realised this going to be a nightmare on
Yeah,
Elm
because I
Street.
mean, what was the hint? It was something.
Dream a little dream of me, and I think as soon as I saw that, I was like, right, okay, it's
Yeah, like
It's
it.
Elm
I
Street.
pretty much knew that it was going to be a Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
yeah. Well, I think because I don't know much about the sequels beyond only a few of them actually being any good. I know the two is pretty terrible.
Yeah, it's 2 is very mixed.
Hmm.
But I mean, it is okay compared to like the likes of like 5 and the last one.
Yeah. So I didn't really have any guess other than Wes Craven's New Nightmare because I know that one's got a hell
Yeah,
of a
that one
cult
as well.
following. But I didn't know anything about 3. Like I knew absolutely nothing. And then this year it's a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. I was like, oh, Okay, fine. I mean, I rewatched the original one again about a month or two ago for Graveyard Chit Chat. Did that one go out? I can't actually remember if that
No,
one.
because there were audio issues. Yeah.
Haven't got that on a t-shirt yet.
No, is the
No,
episode no because there was audio
no,
issues.
exactly. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked it more on rewatch than I used to. Like it. I mean, originally I think I was like, oh yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty bloody great. Um, part three, I know people really like, and I think there's aspects that I think are better than the original, namely a better exploration of fighting Freddy Krueger in
In like his
dreams.
own realm and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because in your dreams, you can literally be whatever the hell you want, and they really play into that, like someone in a wheelchair can walk.
Can walk, which I
Um,
think is really cool.
it feels like an obvious idea,
Yeah.
so it's mental that it took them 3 films to do that. Especially when it's not Wes Craven. I mean, yeah, fair enough. Wes Craven's got a story credits. Also, Frank bloody Darabont of all people. Like, what the hell? Like, did he just happen to be in the same room having his lunch or something, and then like bloody Wes is coming over like, could you sort of like help us out with this little bit of script? It's like, yeah, sure, all right then. Or something like that. Just like, well, I'm busy doing the Shawshank Redemption, but yeah, sure, all right then.
No
Okay.
problem.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. But no, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. It's Robert Englund as Freddy
Oh
Krueger.
yeah.
It's never not going to be good. I also didn't realize that Nancy was going to be back as well, because I think I remember reading that there was a point when she doesn't come back, and I couldn't remember if it was 3 or 4. And well, spoilers for part 3 from 30 odd years ago. She gets it at the end. I'm assuming because
Oh yeah.
because you've seen them all. I
Yeah.
assume
No,
so.
she doesn't return back. The only other one she returns back for is a New Nightmare.
Oh
But
yeah,
like not
but as
as.
like the actress, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. But I thought she was really good as well. Like I've always liked that character. But for the most part, I liked all the characters in there anyway. They weren't particularly annoying or anything.
Nah.
That being said, despite only being like 95, 96 minutes long, it did feel a bit long. But at the same time, I was starting to zone out. Like I was like starting to
He did
like,
kip off a bit.
yeah, coffee wasn't working eventually. But overall, I mean, like I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, like, what about you? I mean, what's your feelings on part
I've
3?
I do like it. I mean, I don't like it as much as the original. I do like the original, but I do like how it just, because you're in Freddy's realm, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Like, as you see, you got a guy in a wheelchair, but in a dream, he can walk.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Like,
got
you've
some
got,
really
like,
good
your own, like,
ideas.
strengths and stuff like that. Like, it's your dream, it's your whatever you want, but then Freddy utilizes that against you, and it is really creative. I mean, it is silly as hell, some of them,
Yeah,
but it works for Nightmare on Elm Street because,
he's got a twisted
yeah.
sense of humor, so the film should have a twisted sense of humor. That makes
Like
sense.
the one-liners and stuff like that, like welcome to prime time and all that.
It was nice to get some context to the primetime one. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'd
finally.
heard that one a lot, so it's nice to finally get that sort of like wedged into my head.
It's probably the most like iconic thing out of that film. That one
Yeah.
bit. I mean, even before like watching it, I just saw that shot and I thought that was cool as hell.
Yeah, it was probably the best scene in the film, I think, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest, the kills are really good, especially like the animatronics a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, very practical film.
Very, very practical, really, really good.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I've seen it. It's just funny how that means that's now 2 franchises now on the same night, essentially, where I've just skipped some of the sequels and just gone to the 4th or the 3rd one. And I'm like a major completionist. Like that would drive me mad. I'd be like, no, I have to start. I have to go at the 2nd one and then the 3rd one. No, just solid.
Nice. Just skip 2 and 3 and part 4.
Yeah, essentially. And well, okay. So
Here it comes.
there was 4 films.
It was.
We couldn't guess the 4th. And
No.
after figuring out what it is, there was no way we were ever going to get it. All I said was the Rosetta Stone of horror sequels. So when you say that, that sounds like the greatest.
Oh yeah.
We jokingly thought maybe something like The Bride of Frankenstein. That's considered one of the best horror sequels ever made, except it's only 75 minutes long. This reckon it was 1 hour 40. but it could have been lying. But I don't think they were. In the end, and then I'd thought it might be Halloween 2018
Yeah.
because
Which to
people
me
like that
would
one.
make sense,
Yeah,
given that it's like, you're doing like a Halloween thing, why not end with Halloween?
yeah. And then he starts talking about an interview with John Carpenter
Yeah, and
um,
Deborah Hill
and
and
Deborah Hill
something
about
about like how they didn't want to do it, and I thought, oh well, that's got to be Halloween too.
yeah, and then they talk about what would make them come back to do another Halloween film. Then it's like if it doesn't have Michael Myers, and your face
Oh, my face
dropped
dropped because
like
I
a
knew.
lead bloody brick.
Yeah, I
In this
knew.
case, it was Halloween 3.
Yep.
So the reason this has made history, and the reason I said it's 5 o'clock in the morning, is because this is the first time in my 25 years of existence, nearly 26, that I have actually walked out of a cinema, not just during a film, but before it fucking starts.
Yeah, he.
Swearing now.
No joke. He literally said it, and my face just dropped like a lead balloon. We looked at each other, and we were just like, "Yeah,
Yeah, you know what? Is that like
no."
a part of me thought you wouldn't want to move, but I did say if you want to leave, we'll leave. Just do it quickly, and I'll join you in a minute. I thought I'm not waiting a minute.
Yeah, like I wasn't even gonna stick around for the opening
it's
credit. I just went.
It's weird. Like, I mean, obviously, I really don't like the film, and it's the fact that it's the final one to watch. In a sequels do it better. How does it do it better?
It's like it's one
It
of the
doesn't do it any
absolute
better.
worst entries into that very questionable franchise.
I mean, it's an awkward one because you either go with the general consensus so that it's never there, or you go with it having a cult following, which I know it does.
Oh, it does. It absolutely has
But
it.
even the ones that do have even though I do know there's people that do quite like Halloween 3, at no point are they going to say, oh yeah, it's about on par or slightly better than the original. I'm like, no, bloody isn't.
It's not.
So at that point, even I was like, no, I'm checking out this. There's no way I
Yeah.
can. So I feel bad for doing that because I don't like doing that. I'll support cinema as much as I can until it's Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Yeah, like if it was, because as I say, like I originally thought it was going to be Halloween 2, and I thought, okay, that's actually like a really cool thing to
Yeah.
end on, because especially the stuff with John Carpenter and Deborah Hill saying that they didn't want to do it. I thought, okay, well that's
Yeah,
got to
exactly.
be Halloween 2.
Otherwise, even Halloween H2O,
I would have happily settled for that.
I could have, save for the eyebrows and the
And that
stupid
CGI
mask.
mask. Yeah.
I would have been fine.
But
Hell,
then when Halloween 3,
yeah.
that name, and then I just went, no.
No, I am actually. I'm curious what it looked like to everyone else, like before it even started, and we're already starting to walk out. Again, I do kind of feel bad because
I do a
wouldn't
little
usually
bit,
do
but
that.
I think it's just, it's like
Yeah,
4 o'clock
exactly.
in the morning.
I'm already starting to doze off.
I can't be asked with
Yeah,
Halloween
exactly.
3.
And you know what? Hearing that it was Halloween 3, I shot up immediately. I just became the most awake person on the planet.
Yeah.
It's like, right, okay, we're gone. Ta-ra. And yeah, you'd already subjected me to all the Halloween films last year, and I think that just, I think if I hadn't done that, well, I feel like we probably still would have done. I still feel like you probably would have just gotten up and left. And I thought, I can't wait around because you've got nowhere to get home for one, because bus strikes, just bloody brilliant.
You see, like, even if we didn't, I still think you probably would have got like halfway through that film and you just would have been like, yeah, just screw this.
Yeah, we kind of just had to pretend that we went to the loo
Yeah,
downstairs.
like within
and
like
outside.
5 minutes of the film being, well, the 4th film being announced, we just got up and left.
Yeah, that's just never happened.
That is history.
Because
that is the first time I've ever left cinema during a film.
Yeah, hopefully that never happens again. But, we know for future reference. If it
It's
sounds
just
like
such
it's
an
going to be Halloween 3.
Odd one to end on
Exactly.
as well.
Like, I want to know whose idea it was. I mean, I feel like it was the guy doing it, who was absolutely
I
lovely.
mean, it's
Like,
absolutely
he's a really good sport.
ballsy as hell.
It's very ballsy.
Like, it really is. You're going with the entry that just has absolutely nothing to do with
yeah.
the character of Michael Myers. The only where Michael Myers is in the film is literally a cameo with
Well,
Dan
exactly.
Atkins watching the TV with Halloween playing on the
Yeah.
TV.
And it's not even like we're acting like it's the worst one. Obviously, that's still
Debatable.
yeah. I mean, for me, I think it was the Rob Zombie Halloween 2. I think that was the worst one, though everyone else would say it's Halloween
Halloween
Resurrection.
Resurrection and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Definitely the worst two.
Yeah. So it's again, we're not saying it's the worst one, but it's the worst one to pick for something like this.
Yeah.
So hence why we were back earlier. Hence why the parking fee was a lot cheaper as well. It was like half of what I was expecting it to be. But that being said, despite the change at the end, we were like, no, okay, we're leaving early. I still had a fun time for sure.
Oh yeah, really
Very-
fun. I mean, I think it was just really fun, just kind of being quite mysterious. Like, I mean, they've kept it
Yeah.
really secretive.
Yeah, they did very well with that because while we were kind of on the ball a little bit for some of them,
I think for
Psycho
the third film definitely, but for the
Yeah.
second one, absolutely no clue they're going to
No
pull
clue.
that. Like,
yeah, because I didn't realize that Psycho 2 was actually really good.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it had that kind of reception at all. I just
because
assumed.
you're going to assume, like Psycho being like one of the most like iconic horror films of all time. You do not want a sequel to like arguably the masterpiece of horror.
Yeah.
So when you hear it, you're like, oh my god, it's going to be like absolutely hot garbage, but it's actually not.
No,
Like, it's got to be one of the best horror sequels I've actually watched.
It's right up there now.
Oh yeah,
It's mental. I just didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I mean, Anthony Perkins is great.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
He's really, again, you really feel for the guy. And to some, they'll be like, oh, well, how dare they do that when in the first film he's a complete lunatic. This one delves into, like, what that's like to live with. Again, that's what Bates Motel, the series, does so well for 5 series. It really gets you in the head of Norman. And they do that here as well. And quite frankly, if it just continued on and on, I wouldn't have minded. I wanted to see more of them. That's how good it was. Like, I'd be happy to sit there for even longer than it actually is, which I think was just a shy under 2 hours.
yeah.
I think
it's like an hour 55, something like that.
Yeah. The rest of the night, really fun.
Oh, yeah.
Thoroughly
Spot on.
enjoyed it. I know they were trying to promote the next one that's on the 2nd of December, which was like a Christmas all-nighter. We're not doing that because Doctor Who's on that night, and that's more important because bloody Russell T Davies and his changing schedule. So that's that one's been moved around now. But no, I still thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I'd do something like this again at some point.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's just let's make sure 100%, 1,000,000% that it's not going to be a Halloween 3.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it's not an absolute disappointment. Like,
No.
it isn't. It hasn't absolutely ruined the night, but I'm just thinking that's such an odd one to go with to finish it all off.
Yeah.
Like, you've had like 3 really good films, and you just pull out Halloween 3. I'm like, wow, man.
I guess it's weird because I was sitting there thinking, like, especially when I was starting to like just like completely fall asleep during Nightmare 3. I was sat there thinking, am I gonna make it through like the 4th one? I'm not entirely sure because I'm not having any more coffee because it might actually kill me. And then that happens. Like, okay, it's fine. Doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter if
Didn't even need
if
the
I fall
coffee,
asleep.
wide awake.
Yeah, exactly. The coffee finally kicked in. And all it took was being told it was going to be Halloween 3 and just like, no, just run. Just run away. Like, I've never moved so quickly out of a cinema since
Neither have I.
probably Star Wars Episode
I
9
didn't
on a
even want to
rewatch.
hear the title music. I didn't even want to see the intro titles.
And to think, we should have picked up on it, especially considering that the play is part of the old
Yeah, they played
toy advert.
the Shamrock commercial as well. I
Yeah.
just thought like, oh, there's no way they'd do Halloween 3. Look what they
Yeah,
did.
it's just like, of all, like, I don't know why they picked, well, obviously, they picked it probably as like a hint.
Yeah.
A brilliant hint, because we didn't bloody pick up on it. We just like,
Oh,
this is
some of
really
them, I mean,
annoying.
like the second one, you would never think it would Psycho 2. You'd never think it would
No.
be Psycho 2.
No idea. But that one was the biggest, well, Yes, second biggest surprise, because the biggest surprise was the one we didn't watch.
The easiest one was definitely the third one because, with it being like a dream thing, there's only really
Yeah.
one film that you think of, The
Otherwise,
Nightmare on Elm Street.
yeah, otherwise Friday the 13th, that one was
See,
going to be
even
one
that
of
one
them.
was a bit challenging to me because I was like, is Friday the 13th really classed as a holiday? But I was like, well, is it Halloween? Is it like what specific holiday is it? Is it Christmas? Is it like,
Or is it just like a trip?
yeah,
Which in this case it was, because of course there's this teens in an old house and a lorry on the side of a lake.
Yeah.
Of course it's a bloody holiday. But yeah, as I say, still thoroughly enjoyed it. Just a shame that it ended the way it did. Again, didn't realize we were going to make any sort of history tonight. So,
sorry,
thanks.
Halloween 3. I'm not.
It's just the best one. In fact, it was so good we didn't want to. We just didn't want to see it. To be
Yeah.
honest, like I didn't want to have to watch it again. Like it's too perfect. I didn't want to ruin it.
Like, I can't even, like, just begin to even make the expression that I had when Halloween 3 was announced. I was just like, no.
It was like the loudest silent sigh there has ever been. Like
that is actually the best way to describe it.
it probably caused an earthquake on the other side of the planet. And when when I looked on the Richter scale and it just had Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and like, oh, it's one of those ones again. Great, it's a Halloween 3 earthquake. Just devastating, really. But yeah, that's our talk on our sequels that do it better for some people. We're gonna have to rename it.
Yeah.
Sequels that exist. There we go. Horror sequels that exist. That's a slightly better way to promote us in that it's actually that's actually real. But thank you very much for watching, as opposed to listening.
Watching this time.
Or maybe you are listening, because now you can listen to podcasts on YouTube Music, our favourite platform. So you can either watch us or you can look at the static thumbnail, whichever one you want. So as I say, thanks very much for watching. Next week we are doing another video thingy, because we are on holiday. Technically, we're on holiday.
For like a day. More or less.
Yeah, that's usually how it works. Now we've got another Comic-Con special. This time
Now they're getting 2 specials.
I know they're getting 2 specials. Doctor Who's getting 3, and we're getting 2. And which makes sense because it's Scarborough Comic Con. So already it's the biggest one we've done. And once again, the reason is purely because there's some Doctor Who actors that we want to get photos of, which when you say it like that sounds a bit creepy.
Slightly.
I want more photos of Sylvester McCoy. Little guy.
Context.
And Colin Baker. And Paul McGann.
Yeah.
As well. And I think, yeah, there's a ton
5,
of
6,
people.
7, 8.
Yeah. There's 5, 6, 7, 8. And a bunch of companions and some other people I don't know. Sorry. So be sure to look out for that one. I don't think we're cosplaying this time, though. Because we'd both like a bit of visibility.
Yeah, I would quite like visibility this
Yeah,
time around
but
compared
yeah.
to T-side.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be our real podcasters road trip kind of thing. At least I'm going to try and
The
do
real
that.
road trippers.
The real road trippers. Oh god, the trip down there's going to be fun. But yes, you can look forward to that next week. Hopefully that's out on time. With it being a big video, that might take a little bit longer for me to edit, especially because I'll need footage from him as well. That's going to be an interesting one to get. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, and goodbye.